Direct News TV. October 5, 2023. Russia-Ukraine updates, at least 51 killed in Kharkiv attack, Kyiv. Thursday saw one of the deadliest attacks in recent months of fighting. Meanwhile, European leaders underscored concerns over possible U.S. obstructions to further aid for Ukraine. For more perspective, check out our video below examining what could be a new phase in Washington's support for Kyiv. Recap: here's what happened on day 589 of the war in Ukraine. An attack on a supermarket in the village of Hroza killed 51 in one of the deadliest attacks in months. Putin spoke at a conference in Sochi, Russia, where he hailed recent missile tests and said Russia's economy was resilient despite fighting. Zelensky attended a meeting of European leaders in Grenada, where many expressed renewed support for Ukraine. Reports have circulated that Russia signed a deal for a naval base in the breakaway Georgian region of Abkhazia. Hroza strike, clearly deliberate, research director at European Expert Association in Ukraine, Maria Adeeva, the research director at the European Expert Association in Ukraine, called the Hroza strike clearly deliberate. Russians knew that all those people were there and they precisely attacked this building, Adeeva told Al Jazeera. This strike was so huge that from what we know now, only 30 bodies are being able to be identified from 51 people killed, so that means that 20 bodies still aren't identified, she said. And from what we know from the last Russian attacks of the same kind, which were on the pizzeria in Kramatorsk, later, police said that they found people who navigated the strike, those who gave out information and told Russians when and where to hit, she said. Adeeva referred to the arrest of a man who the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, accused of filming the Kramatorsk restaurant before the attack and giving them information about the popular establishment. White House calls on Congress to approve more Ukraine aid. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre has again called on Congress to approve more aid to Ukraine. The appeal comes after U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy, a Republican, was removed from his role amid unrest from his own party. The issue has thrown future aid to Ukraine, which must be approved by the U.S. legislature, into question. At least one legislator vying to replace McCarthy, Jim Jordan, has said he would oppose future aid under current conditions. Majorities of both parties support more aid for Ukraine, but a flank of hardline Republicans in the House have wielded outsized influence in their opposition to more aid. Ultimately, we believe that Congress needs to act, Jean-Pierre said. We need Congress to keep their promise. Search for survivors over in East Ukraine village, official. Rescue operations to find survivors of the attack on the eastern Ukrainian village of Hroza are over, Ukrainian authorities said. As of 7:20 p.m., 16:20 GMT, emergency and rescue work in the village of Groza, Kupiansk district, has been completed, Ukraine State Emergency Service said, using an alternative spelling. A total of 51 people died, including a child born in 2017, and 6 people were wounded. Unity behind Ukraine shows multilateralism works, Estonian Prime Minister. The meeting of European leaders in Grenada on Thursday touched on many subjects, with the war in Ukraine looming particularly large. Many leaders used the forum to restate steadfast support for Kyiv. That's something that observers say has become increasingly significant amid concerns about aid fatigue and questions about the US's role going forward. Russia is counting on us getting tired, but we cannot get tired. We must do everything to help Ukraine win. We prove multilateralism works by being united and by supporting Ukraine until victory, Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas wrote on X. Putin says grenade traces found in bodies of Prigozhin crash victims. Putin says explosive traces were discovered in the remains of people killed and the plane carrying Wagner mercenary group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin crashed in Russia in August. The head of the investigative committee reported to me a few days ago. Fragments of hand grenades were found in the bodies of the victims of the air disaster. There was no external impact on the plane, Putin said while speaking at the Valdai Discussion Club in Sochi. Prigozhin was killed in the crash 2 months after he led an attempted coup in Russia. He led the mutiny after becoming increasingly outspoken over the treatment of his mercenaries fighting on behalf of Russia in Ukraine. The Kremlin said in August that deliberate wrongdoing could be behind the deadly crash, which Russia is not investigating under international rules. White House says Hroza attack incredibly horrifying. The White House has now responded to the Hroza attack, with White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre saying that it underscored the need to keep supporting Kyiv against Russia. The appeal comes amid congressional infighting that has thrown the future of U.S. aid into question. It is incredibly horrifying for the people of Ukraine, Jean-Pierre told reporters. This is why we're doing everything that we can to help Ukraine. Human rights lawyer condemns Hroza cafe strike. Youssef Syed Khan, a senior lawyer at Global Rights Compliance who is assisting Ukraine's public prosecutor in building a war crimes case against Russia, has condemned the latest strike that killed at least 51 civilians. Today's senseless attack against a cafe in Hroza village, where a memorial service was being held, is among the deadliest attacks directed against civilians and civilian objects since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion last year. The cafe itself was situated some 40 kilometers from the nearest front line, Khan said in a statement. The rights lawyer connected the attack to what he described as Russia's continued use of starvation as a method of warfare across Ukraine. We have documented several similar attacks following the same pattern, where packed community venues offering food are deliberately targeted during peak visiting hours, either to deprive residents of their sustenance value, or simply to sow and spread terror, he said. Moldova's president deeply disturbed by latest attack. President Maya Sandu has said Moldova vehemently condemns this yet another violent act of aggression by Russia, following the strike on the village of Hroza that killed at least 51. Today, and every day, we stand in solidarity with Ukraine, she wrote on X. Macron says EU partners have very deep commitment to Ukraine. French President Emmanuel Macron has said that he feels a willingness among EU partners to continue to support Ukraine. There is a very deep, very strong commitment because we all know that we are talking about Europe and about the very possibility of lasting peace on our continent, he told reporters during a meeting of European leaders in Grenada. The meeting comes as questions over the US's support for Ukraine amid congressional infighting have roiled European leaders. Recap: what has Putin said today? As Putin speaks at Valdai Discussion Club, here are some key takeaways. Nuclear weapons: theoretically we could revoke ratification of the International Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, but the Russian leader said he was not there yet. War in Ukraine: I have said many times that it was not us who started the war in Ukraine. On the contrary, we are trying to end it. The West: adherence to bloc approaches, the desire to drive the world into a situation of constant confrontation between US and them, is a vicious legacy of the 20th century. The West always needs an enemy. Russia's economy: we have a stable, sustainable situation. We have overcome all the problems that arose after sanctions were imposed on us, and begun the next stage of development on a new basis. Slovakia pausing decisions on Ukraine after elections. Slovakia has frozen decisions on providing military aid to neighboring Ukraine until after its parliamentary elections, the presidency has told the Agence France-Presse news agency. Spokesman Martin Strizenek said President Zuzana Chaputova shared the view of the outgoing Prime Minister, that a decision on this question must reflect the result of recent legislative elections. The spokesman said Chaputova had not changed her position on military aid to Ukraine and she will continue to back it. Robert Fico, a populist who pledged to end military help for Ukraine, was tapped on Monday to form a new government after his party finished first in Saturday's elections with 23% of the votes. Progressive Slovakia, a pro-Ukraine centrist party, finished second with 18%. Putin says Russia has successfully tested new nuclear-capable missile. Putin has said that Russia has successfully tested the Burevestnik, a nuclear-powered and nuclear-capable cruise missile with a potential range of many thousands of miles. The weapon represents a potentially potent new strategic missile in Russia's arsenal. During wide-ranging statements to the Valdai Discussion Club, Putin also told the annual gathering of analysts and journalists that Russia had almost completed work on its Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missile system, another key element of its new generation of nuclear weapons. Putin declined to rule out the possibility Moscow could carry out weapons tests involving nuclear explosions for the first time in more than 3 decades. Observers have warned such tests would be extremely destabilizing amid heightened global tensions. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.